Imagine a politician walking into the headquarters of a state-run media empire, the same network that had spent years branding him a national enemy and announcing on their own hostile airwaves that he was there to shut them down. This wasn't a hollow threat. It was a direct challenge to Viktor Orbán, a leader who had spent 16 years systematically dismantling the very idea of an opposition. Most people assume a dictator is someone who cancels elections, but the modern model is more surgical. It's about keeping the elections while rewriting the rules so that the person in power can never actually lose. The result was a country where the state was the only significant employer and the only loud voice. For 4 consecutive years, Hungary sat at the bottom of the European Union's corruption rankings. Breaking this cycle required more than just a popular candidate. To understand the scale of the victory, we have to look at the 3 specific ways the government made itself invincible. The first pillar of control was the elimination of the independent observer. The government began by funneling massive state contracts to a circle of loyal billionaires. These allies then used that wealth to purchase 476 separate media outlets, merging them into a single pro-government conglomerate. Remaining independent houses saw their public funding and advertising revenue evaporate overnight. Most were forced to close, creating an information echo chamber. Next, the ruling party targeted the judiciary. They passed a law that suddenly dropped the retirement age for judges from 70 years old to 62. This forced the immediate retirement of 20% of the nation's judges. Those empty seats were filled with loyalists. The government gained the power to assign specific judges to specific cases. A leader facing charges could handpick their own judge. Finally, they rebuilt the parliament itself, cutting seats from 286 down to 119, and aggressively redrawing district lines. By switching to single-round voting, as long as the opposition remained divided, the ruling party would win every time. This created a closed loop. The media wouldn't report corruption, the courts wouldn't prosecute it, and voting maps prevented change. Entering this rigged environment was Péter Magyar, who realized the only way to beat a digital blockade was through physical presence. Bypassing state media entirely, Magyar went door to door, walking across the country to meet people and explain how the state had been hollowed out. He took the fight into the realm of investigative journalism, releasing leaked audio clips of high-level corruption. Instead of waiting for a court date that would never come, he presented the evidence directly to the public. For an entire year, the country saw a level of sustained protest it hadn't experienced in decades. People weren't just angry, they were finally armed with proof that the government couldn't spin. Magyar's strategy was simple. If the regime controlled the virtual world, he would win back the physical one. On election day, the structural traps were all still in place. The gerrymandered districts and single-round system were designed to absorb a typical loss. But gerrymandering has a limit. When Magyar achieved a 53.6% landslide, he crossed the mathematical threshold where the redrawn districts no longer mattered. A majority that large acts like a flood, overwhelming the artificial barriers and flipping even the most safe seats. In his victory speech, Magyar declared that the people had successfully liberated the country from within. After the results were finalized, he returned to the state media headquarters. This time, he wasn't there as a candidate begging for airtime, but as the winner who had proven their monopoly over the truth was over. Systems of control can be engineered to be merely perfect, but they all share the same vulnerability. They cannot survive a public that is both fully informed and unified.